it seems to be good news with hotels slowly beginning to figure out how to open their doors to guests. Maharashtra, of course, was the latest to issue SOPs for hotels and allowing guests to come in with 33% occupancy. Meanwhile, there are quite a few other states who are also in the same bandwagon, including Goa, which opened its doors for guests from the 2nd of July. Now, the question though is that will hotels be attractive to people right now? This comes even as the COVID cases keep jumping up. Alarming news today that Mumbai, the city of Mumbai, has overtaken all of China in terms of total COVID numbers. So that concern still remains. On the other hand, especially in big cities and in congested areas, hotels were and continue to be used as quarantine centers as well. So what is the future of hotels and the tourism industry all in all looking like? To get an idea on this, I'm joined now by Adarsh Manpuria, co-founder of Fab Hotels. I'm also speaking with Ankit Sood from the Sunshine Himalayan Adventures. He's also consulting with the government of Himachal Pradesh on tourism. Welcome to both of you and thank you so much for speaking with us. Mr. Adarsh, let me begin by just getting your take. Do you think hotels are open for business? What is the case at your chain?
Yes, so Tamanna, the current status is that around 60 to 70% of our hotels are open now. It is still far from normalcy, while certain leisure destinations like Goa and Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, those states are looking to open up completely to tourists right now. Yet there are different guidelines in every state. So yesterday we saw Maharashtra guidelines with 33% capacity. In a lot of other states like Delhi, you're still allowed to open hotels only for specific purposes, such as for hosting quarantine travelers or for medical staff. So it's still not normal days. It's still not, there's still supply constraints on the hotel industry. And we're far from, regular business, pre-COVID levels of business right now.
No, absolutely. I understand that. I just want to understand, Adarsh, what are the kind of clients who are coming in? What are the kind of guests who come in? You say up to 60% of your hotels are open for business. From the 2nd
Right.
of July, Goa, which is a major tourism destination in India, has opened for business. Is there any traction? Are people actually coming in? Because if it's in leisure areas or tourist areas, then you would expect holiday makers perhaps to come in,
Right.
or you would
Right.
have business travelers. Both categories of travelers seem to be under severe strain right now.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Tamanna. I think that, first of all, it is very early days right now. So the Goa order only came in on the 2nd of July. Maharashtra only came in yesterday. Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand only came in over the last couple of days. So there's still a lot of uncertainty both among hotel operators as well as the guests at large. I did read one-off reports about traffic jams at Parvanu, which is the entry point for Himachal Pradesh. But other than spotty reports, there is no clarity as to whether people are taking flights yet or they have started taking the dry vacations that we were expecting. Because just it, and a lot of it has to do with the inconsistency in guidelines that the different states have, right? In some places, Goa, for example, you were allowed to have only 250 hotels. In other cities like Himachal and Uttarakhand, you needed to have a minimum booking of 5 to 7 days, and then you need to have a COVID negative test before you go in there. So I don't think the regular leisure traveler will be comfortable traveling in such times. Most of the business cities, if you look at that, only have the new channels of demand, as I mentioned, which are either the quarantine travelers or the medical staff. As far as the leisure tourism is concerned, it is only those people who are extremely frustrated by the 75 days of the lockdown. And so we have seen certain cases of families booking resorts for longer time periods, let's say 30 to 45 days. But that kind of demand has been really spotty and not really consistent right now. It's still early days. We'll see how things progress in the coming weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the kind of pocket of customers to look out for. Those who are frustrated sitting at home, and I don't know if people will
Right.
do 30 to 40-day bookings, but maybe there is another target audience there. Ankit, Sood, what has been your experience so far, and especially for things like adventure tourism? Does there seem any light at the end of this tunnel?
Well, Tamanna, Himachal has opened up along with Uttarakhand and all these states. But like others said, the guidelines are so sketchy at the moment. Just when you tell a guest that he has to come with a COVID test with him, COVID negative test, as well as stay for a minimum of 5 days, there is a huge resentment amongst the hoteliers also to open up. Adventure sports as such, though they are a nature based activity and they can be started with the physical distancing and all the measures that are required with COVID, but I still think it is primarily the accommodation and the transport industry which has to streamline before the guests start coming in. Now with the SOPs being very vague as far as the government is concerned and as far as the hoteliers are concerned, there is still resentment. For example, in Himachal, yesterday,
Yeah.
almost all the major hotel associations have said that we are not ready to take hotels now, to take guests now. And, though there is a huge beeline from the states like Punjab, Haryana, and Delhi, because they are reeling in the heat to enjoy the cool climate of Himachal, most of them are being sent back from the borders. So this will take a while to streamline. As of now, the demand is there, but the local population is also very very wary of getting tourists, especially because there is a very limited health infrastructure in
Yeah.
the.
You know, absolutely, absolutely. I just want to talk a bit about these SOPs and others come in here on this point. For example, in the state of Maharashtra, one of the SOPs is that you can have occupancy for up to 33%, but it also goes on to say that for the remainder 66, 67%, the government and the state administration, if it so deems fit, can use those facilities for a quarantine center. Now, I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand which guest or which customer will want to pay for a hotel room,
Yeah.
knowing that they are possibly neighbors with those who are quarantined. You're trying to get away from all of this. So, there seems to be no real, method to this madness.
Yeah, absolutely, Tamanna. That is the super confusing part, right? So I will take your question in a couple, I'll answer your question in a couple of ways, right? So let's say if the SOP clearly stated, and we at Fab Hotels are still trying to wrap our heads, just like our other friends in the hotel industry, around the Maharashtra hotel SOPs, right? So let's say if there was no quarantine center, even if you don't quarantine people, let's just talk from a sustainability point of view, right? So like in Unlock 1, we had the SOP for 9 p.m. shutdown of restaurants. And you saw that even with the government permitting restaurants to open up till 9 p.m., majority of the restaurants did not open because 60 to 70% of the business happens with dinners. And who will have dinner? India is not a culture where you have dinner before 9 p.m. and have to get back home in that time. With 10 p.m. guideline, you still see more restaurants opening over the last 1 week, right? So the SOPs are such that they don't facilitate sustainable business. Then forget the demand side, but the supply side itself will not normalize. So, hotels by definition, unlike in restaurants or in cinema halls or even flights for that matter, hotels by definition are distanced, right? Each room has walls and you are automatically distanced in those walls, right? Even if you set aside budget hotels for a minute, you know, most of the hotels in India are 20 to 40 room units. So it's not like you have a beeline at the counter for check-ins. So I didn't really understand what was the concern while devising these SOPs, why this 33% capacity was valid. That was point number one. Point number two is when you actually add on, I have actually, this is news to
No,
me.
no,
I didn't,
but then, yeah.
sorry, yeah. This was news to
No,
me
no,
that
please continue. Please
we
continue.
have
I'll come back.
quarantine centers in the same hotels. Actually, I did not. I don't know if I missed that in the SOPs, or that is a discussion beyond the SOPs. But if you're actually doing that, then there is absolutely no sense in doing
Yeah.
that, right? I, as a guest, or I'm pretty sure with the kind of consumer behavior we are seeing, as you rightly said, people are looking to get away from that, not to interact with that kind of quarantine audience in the same hotel where you're expecting to host regular guests. So that absolutely does not make sense. At least if we were allowed to do that, we would never do that. We would want our quarantine hotels to be absolutely different from the ones that were hosting regular guests. And then it is up to the hotel operators and for us to assess whether 33% capacity is enough to break even, is enough. When you actually have a lockdown situation, the hotel owners behave like cutting down on fixed costs, right? So either you have renegotiated your rentals, or you've asked your staff to go on leave. You've kind of shut down your hotel so you don't have to pay electricity charges, any variable charges, and so on. So if at 33% capacity you cannot expect to break even, then why would I actually open up the supply? I would actually keep my hotel shut down as long as I'm not able to make a break even on my asset. So it absolutely does not make any sense, and it probably creates more confusion. Maybe a 50, 60, 70% capacity could have been more realistic, even if there were distancing concerns. But 33% is quite baffling. And so we're still engaging with our hotel operators to understand how we can kind of, navigate this situation right now. And then on the other hand, while the most concerned state, the most
Yeah,
critical state
those that
is willing to open up hotels, there are states like Delhi which are actually doing better if you look
no,
at
the
the
point
last
I was
15 days. Yeah,
yes.
go ahead. Yes, Samanna.
Yeah. No, no. So I was saying yes. The SOPs for Mission Begin Again definitely have that clause as well, where you are going to have to come in and allow a
Right,
quarantine if required in the
right,
remaining space. And yes,
right.
absolutely. Why would you want to do that? But I want to look ahead. I want to look ahead for a bit and see where there could be a scope. Ankit, why don't you take this point across? Where can there be a scope for revival of some kind of a business? We know we're in the doldrums right now, but do you think that there will be innovative offers that will come in? There will be packages, there will be discounts, and if there is enough of an assurance of safety that people will step out for those who look at this as some kind of break?
Well, Tamanna, at least for the hill states, there are the main destinations like Shimla, Manali, Dharamsala, which have a very, and then there are tier two destinations like Tirthan, Spiti, and all these places which are offbeat. So I definitely have a hint that the lesser known, remoter destinations are going to start earlier because they'll be less crowded, and the accommodations there are also in the form of homestays and basically ancillary accommodations besides the hotels. Uh, Obviously, tourism has to start, but there has to be, for example, the Himachal government is now doing various steps like hygiene trainings and COVID-19 compatible trainings for all the
Yeah.
stakeholders, starting from the accommodation providers to the, so there has to be a certain a training phase before we so it has to open in phases. We can't really let the whole gates open and everybody to rush in. So even the 5-day quarantine, which they have put over here in a particular resort, that can be done, provided, obviously this will be a problem for mainstream hotels, but for other places which are more remote and less crowded, the Himachal is planning to start with that. But again, like I said, the local people's confidence has to
Yeah.
be there in letting people do the sightseeing, do the adventure sports, and things like that. So, though the tourist then there is
Absolutely.
obviously a seasonality problem as well. So as far as the Himachal, because the main same summer season has gone, now the monsoons have come in, so people want to have a wait and watch policy.
And
uh, while
sure. No, clearly. This is not
Yes.
the best season. This is not the best season, it or prime season for the hotel industry. But then all bets are off right now. The question is that can there be some sort of sustainability and a model which emerges over time once there is clarity in SOPs. The big takeaway is that there must be clarity about what the central government wants, what the state government wants, what the local administration allows before anyone ventures out. It's important because overall losses in this industry due to the lockdown and COVID has been estimated at close to $17 billion. There could be 40 to 50 million jobs at risk. We need to get these set of wheels moving as well. I want to thank both of you for joining us on that leg of the discussion. We'll take a very short break here on the show. We come back with our big voices of the day.